my diamond painting peeps. This is Marissa. Today we are going to be doing a project. I know a lot of you guys have been trying to figure out a way to store your leftover drills in as small a space as possible. Now, as I've said before, I live in a one-bedroom apartment. I don't have a lot of space. So I've been using a binder, and that's not really working just because of like the thickness of it. Everything keeps kind of falling out and things like that. So I saw a video by one of 4 kids at 147. And then I know both Abra Dexter and Cindy B have both made theirs. I think it was Abra or Cindy, I can't remember. Abra, I think, was the one that said that's where the video came from. So I went and watched that video. Now, I went and gathered some supplies. I already had this photo box, and it's just in regular like shoebox sized photo box. So I went and dug it out, and I dumped out all of the sewing supplies that were inside it into a Danish cookie tin, and I am not even joking about that. So I went and got a shoebox. So that's one of the things that you'll need. Some kind of photo storage box. You can get these super cheap, pretty much at any craft store. I've seen them at places like Ross. I think you can get them at Walmart. I'm not positive about that, but super easy to find. They're all kinds of different prices. I wouldn't pay more than $5 for one personally. Like I said, I've had this one for a couple of years now, and I think this one came in a set of 2, possibly from Ross. And I think it was about $5 for 2. The next thing you're going to need is some cardstock. So I went down to my local Tuesday Morning and just got some burlap covered colored cardstock. So that's what we're going to use to make our dividers with. So you'll need some of that. Again, you don't have to spend a lot of money on that. I got these at Tuesday Morning for, there it is, $1.99, and this is got 20 sheets in it, which should be more than enough for what we're doing. The next thing that we got, which a lot of you probably already have, is an X-Acto knife or a cutting implement that's not scissors of some kind of knife-like cutting implement. I broke my last X-Acto knife, and honestly, it's cheaper to just buy a new knife than it is to buy the blades. So I just went ahead and got a new knife. I probably should have got the heavy duty one, but I went ahead and got this one, and I think this one was about $2. The next thing you're going to need is something to cut your cardstock with. Now, if you are a paper crafter, chances are you already have something like this. This is a paper cutter. So you lift that there, you put your paper underneath, you give it a nice smooth little cut. These are fantastic. Again, these are pretty easy to find. And if you use a coupon, like at Joann's or Michael's or somewhere like that, you can actually find them for pretty cheap. I've had this one, I think this one came from Walmart, and I've had it for a good 10 years probably. So I'm going to be using that. You'll need a ruler of some kind, yardstick, something along those lines. You'll need something to write with, and I'm going to be using some foam board. So I just went to Walmart, and as you can see how thick that is, that's just a piece of white foam board. The cool thing is the back of it does have lines. I don't know if you can see those, but there are grid lines back here, so I did like that. I think this is about almost $3 for a piece of foam board, and obviously we won't need the whole thing, so you can actually use this for multiple different projects. I may use whatever is left over to put a canvas on. I've got a canvas I'm having a really hard time finding a frame for, so I may mount it on the foam board and hang it on the wall like that. So let's move this stuff right now. We don't need it at the moment. And what we're going to do is we are going to start with our foam board, and I'm going to cut the foam board down so that it will fit inside the box. And I'm actually going to use the lid to do this with. So we're going to measure in inches the inside of the lid. So the inside of my lid is right at 11 and a half. 11, nope. I don't know what that line is, but so that one there, not 11 and a quarter, not 11 and a half. So whatever that line is. And that is what we are going to cut our paper for. So it also needs to be about 8 inches. So I'm going to lay this here. Make my 8-inch mark there. And I'm really not even sure why I'm doing it on that side, because the other side has grid lines. Let's get it together, Marissa Rocho. All right, let's try this again. Sorry, guys. Okay. Go from there. So this line here is 8 inches. So we're going to get out our X-Acto knife and get it out of here. Be very careful with this, guys, because we all know how sharp these are. And we are going to and I'm not trying to go all the way through this, guys. I'm only cutting down just a little bit. Let's see here. And I'm just doing my best to stay on the line so that we get a nice even cut. And I'm just going to cut through the whole thing so that we can get 2 pieces in one cut. I went off the line a bit there, but we can trim that if we need to. I have to remind myself a lot of times to slow down because I'm not in a race with anybody. Okay, so we've made our cut. We should be able to fold our board like that, and then that will give you your cut line on the other side that does not have the grid line on it. And I'm just barely scoring this because all you're needing to do on this side is just cut through this top layer. So you can see I'm just barely using just the tip of the X-Acto knife to finish scoring this cut. There we go. And there you go. There's your 8-inch piece. Okay. Now we're going to double check. So we know that it'll fit this way, and you can see I actually got a little more than I needed, but that's okay. Because the next thing we're going to do is, because these are going to stand up like this, it doesn't actually need to be the full 8 inches. So what I'm going to do next, flip it back over to the grid side. I'm going to mark the line, the closest line here to the edge of the box, and we're going to cut it again. Again, I cut a little deeper on this side, about halfway through. I don't want to get my table because this is just a card table. It's not a plastic top. There we go. And then just very lightly score through it there. Okay. So there we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take our piece here that we have measured and cut down, and we are going to cut this in half. So I'm going to flip it over here. I'm just going to count lines. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 14, 15. So this line right here looks like it's about center. We're going to call that center. It'll be all right. I'm not too worried about the dividers coming all the way to the top of the box. I don't think they're going to need to do that. They're really only going to need to go in here enough. And I may not be able to get 2 dividers in here width-wise, but I do have another one of these boxes that I can use if I need to. So I'm going to go ahead and make 2 dividers. So I'm just going to score this line one more time. There we go. Now we should be able to slide this. This is why I cut it with a little bit of extras. You want it to fit in there nice and snug so that it doesn't flop around. So even though it pushes my box out just a little bit, you can kind of see it. Nope, you can't. You can kind of see it there, how it kind of pushes the box out up here. I'm okay with this. I would rather it fit in there nice and snug so that your cards and your baggies will stand up nice and even. So you have the option, if you can fit 2 in here, and because you may be able to find boxes that are wider than what I have, you can get 2 down in there. Or if you want to just do 1, I may just do 1 down the center and then use the other divider that we've created for the other box. So that is step 1, how to cut your foam board. All right, everybody, welcome back to part 2 of our permanent storage. So I watched the first part back, and I have to apologize for the overexposure. I was trying to use the natural sunlight, and I did not realize that it was a little too much. So I'm going to go back and kind of show you again what I did. This is our foam board here. Again, it has the lines on it. Yeah, I don't think you guys can see those. I can't really tell if you can see those or not. But basically what I did is I measured a width of foam board 8 inches across to match our box. Cut it. I went down the entire length of the foam board so that I had one big piece that was 8 inches wide by whatever the length of the foam board was. And then I took that 8-inch strip, cut it off to the length of the box, which I would assume, I believe was the 11 and whatever that was. So took it there, cut it off, and then I took that piece and cut it in half, and that left me with 2 pieces in here that fit very close to the top. Actually, they actually stood up a little bit higher than I thought they would. So I've got my 2 pieces of foam board cut to fit into my box. So the next thing that we are going to do is we're going to be using our paper cutter, and we're going to be using our cardstock, and we are going to cut those pieces, the cardstock pieces down to the size of the baggies. So I have the baggies here. And if I'm not mistaken, my baggies are 2 inches by 3 inches. But I'm just going to double check. So they're 2 inches by 3 inches, which is actually the holding space. And then the zipper part is another 1/2 inch. So they're 2 inches across by 3.5 inches tall. So the idea is that they will sit down in there. So you can see I can, in fact, have 3 sections in here. So I'm going to leave those 2 pieces. And because I do have a piece of index card in here, these stand up pretty well. I don't think I'm going to have to worry about them sliding down. And that's how I've labeled those baggies, is with an index card. So again, here's our cardstock. It was $1.99 from Tuesday morning. This is 12 by 12 inch cardstock. So this is scrapbooking cardstock paper. It is 80 pounds, so it's heavyweight cardstock, and there are 20 sheets in here. So since we need these to be 2 inches tall, we should be able to get probably about 6. And that was the lightest of touches there. So let's see if that worked. It did. So we're going to take a piece of paper there, and we're going to take this. And one of the reasons I actually bought this paper cutter is because it had this ruler on it. So you can see there, on the side here is my inches. So if I remember how to use this correctly, do I remember how to use this correctly? Let's see here. So, line this way. Should be 2 inches. So what I'm actually going to do to make this a little bit easier, so we're going to measure first. And I'm just going to put a little mark every 2 inches. Okay. And then I'll just line up my mark with the little, I know you guys can't see that. So if you can see where the ruler slides, there's a divot there for your blade to slide through. So I'm just going to get my mark right into that spot, and I'm going to cut. Just like that. So these are 2-inch wide strips for the most part. That first cut looks like I shorted it just a little bit, but either way, they will go into the boxes, just like so. You can see there. So it'll just fit right down into the boxes. There's a little room on each side, which is, again, to me, that's not that big a deal. So we want them to be 2 inches tall, 2 inches wide, and 3 inches tall. So there's 3, 6, 9. So now we have cardstock like this. We'll see how those fit down in there. I'm going to need to make them bigger. So what I'm actually going to do is, instead of making them 3 inches tall, I'm going to make them 4 inches tall, which means you should get 3 out of each strip. So let's see how that works, and we'll go from there. This is an experiment, so I'm sure somebody is screaming at me a better way to do this, but we're just going to trial and error. There we go. That'll work. So if we make them 4 inches tall, that gives us an extra inch over the bag, and we can write the numbers. Okay, we're rolling now. All right. So I'm just going to continue to make my strips. Measure them. And I'm going to put you guys into fast forward because you don't have to watch all this. To work on part 3. This is how many I've cut. That took me about 15 minutes or so. So I've got all my little cards here. Now the original idea, what I was going to do, is I was going to take the DMC sticker numbers and I was going to be able to just stick them right here at the top. Except that my Walmart did not have any of the DMC sticker numbers. So we're going to go with plan B. And we're going to old school it and use a Sharpie. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use, these are my leftovers here from my Groot that I finished just a couple weeks ago. And as you can see, there were a ton of leftovers. I didn't get anywhere close to running out of any color at all. So, as Neely Store, good job. These are all of the leftovers for that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through here and I'm going to start writing down numbers of what we have. So I don't actually need the baggies for that because this one did come with a fantastic inventory sheet. So I'm going to use my inventory sheet. I just wanted y'all to see these because they're really pretty. And there were a lot of them. I was honestly kind of shocked by how many I had left over. So, and these baggies that they're in are not ones that we got sent. If you saw my unboxing video from Consumer Crafts, these, for this painting at least, are Consumer Crafts baggies. And they're actually pretty good quality so far. You know, I'm not handling them all the time, and I know that makes a difference. But for right now, they are working pretty well. So I'm just going to go down this list and I'm going to write these DMC code numbers down. And again, I'm going to go ahead and put you in fast forward because you don't have to see all of this. Now we've got all of our numbers for this one project done, and because I used the inventory sheet, they are already in order, which is fantastic. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to take these and I'm going to match them up with their baggie, and then we'll put them in here. So I'm just going to lay them out like a deck of cards. Alright, so you guys are probably noticing the same thing I did. I did go ahead and there was one color in this picture that were really, really bad drills, and those were the 598s. They were like a mint color, and so I actually went ahead and did get rid of those. I didn't keep those because they were so bad. That was the only color that I had a problem with. And I missed 310s. So I'm going to make a card real quick for 310. I had forgotten that I had gotten rid of those, and we're going to put this here in order just after the 229s. And then we're going to start putting these in the boxes. So I'm just going to slide them in like this. And for this first little bit, you'll probably have, I'm thinking we might have some issues, but I think once we get some stock built up in here, then it should be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do them in batches like that. Oh, they actually stand up pretty well. So I'm going to move this over here. I'm going to go ahead and keep that $5.98 card just in case. I have another one that has that color. So now, because I don't have a huge stock, I'm sitting here and I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use the 3 separate sections. I think I'm going to make this first one here that I'm putting these into squares because these are squares. And at the moment, these are the only leftover squares that I have. Everything else I've done besides my current whip and Groot have been rounds. So I think this will be my square container slot here. I'll put my rounds here, and then I'll put my Evermoment and DACs over here because I do want to keep those separate, whether they're rounds or squares. There's a couple of different, I mean, there's all kinds of different ways that you can do this. And what I would suggest is you can use this as a guide. You can ignore it altogether, but whatever you do, make it work for you in the way that you keep your storage system. That's really what it's all about. That's why people like to do different things and do it different ways. I'm sure, I know that this one is not exactly the same way that for kids at 147 did this. It's probably not the same way that, goodness, I cannot speak today, guys. It's probably not the same that Abra and Sandy B did theirs. But this way for me works, and so that's what I'm going to do. So, as you can see there, they actually do stand up in there pretty nicely. They can kind of lay back if you want them to, whichever, but they'll be easy to flick through and find a color if you need a color really quickly. So that is the way I'm going to be working on doing my storage boxes. You can see there, you can see the numbers really well over the tops of the baggies. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to keep going. I am going to go ahead and do this for all of my round drills, which will probably take me quite a while. I do have several. I will show you real quick my binder. So this is what my binder looks like right now. So this is one that I have that I haven't worked on yet. So I just still have the drills in their plastic. Sorry guys. I still have the drills in their plastic sleeve, or their plastic packaging that they came in, and I just slid it in there with that. I think for the upcoming ones, I'm going to go ahead and leave that. But all of these other ones, this was an Amazon one that I did. This was Home Fun. This was a DAC. So the DAC, even though they're rounds, I'm still going to put these DAC rounds over in this third compartment over here. So I'm going to set those to the side. And then this one was Anna Cooer store, I believe, for my Hogwarts crest. So this is the way that I personally am going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and work on this. Excuse me for the bump. Sorry about moving, you guys. Hope nobody got motion sick. I'm going to go ahead and continue working on this. And until next time, guys, remember that you don't have to be perfect. You just have to do things. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Bye! Alright guys, welcome back one more time. Couple little things that I forgot. I hope this helps somebody. I know a lot of times I personally like to... Ooh, let me fix the light. There we go, that's much better. A lot of people like try to explain. Sometimes I just need someone to show me how to do things, and that was kind of my thought process behind this. Not that I think you guys aren't smart enough to follow directions, but sometimes seeing is a little bit easier to process and how to change things and make it work for you. So this is everything done except for the DACs over here. So I'll just give you guys a really nice look there. You can see they're all standing up pretty well. Like I said, I do have in each of my little baggies, I do have a piece of index card that I have labeled with the number, the DMC number. That does help these baggies stand up. That wasn't my original intent, but I've noticed that it has helped. So there were some bags I didn't have that from my very first painting, so I went back in, I added index cards to every single bag. I have made a number card for every single bag that I had. I do have some extra number cards, so I just put those in a Ziploc with my index cards over here that I use to label, and I'm just going to stick those down in there and let those stay in here so that when I get ready to unkit my next painting, when I finish it, that all my supplies are there. And then I just went ahead and did my DACs like this because I only just have these few. This is from Bailar Conmigo. So there's only just a few, and they weren't working for me staying up. So I figured I could just do this. And then when I unbox or unkit Firstborn, I should have enough in here to make them lay or stand like they're supposed to. So as you can see, I did get 3 in here. I think I'm also going to go back in and just put a little hot glue where the foam pieces touch the box. I wasn't going to do that originally, and I'm not having any issues so far, but I think that would give it a little bit more sturdiness on the box, so that I wasn't worried about anything sliding around or anything like that. So I may go back and do that. For right now, this is a completed project. As you can see, it does have some movement, so I can still, move some cards. So again, this section, this piece over here, I've got my square drills in. This middle one, I have round drills in. And then this section over here, I'm going to use for Diamond Art Club drills, both round and square, as well as Evermoment drills, just because they are or tend to be much higher quality than other drills. So again, I hope this helped you. I'm going to put I will be keeping my, whatever you call those things, because the words are not coming, and back into my binder, because I do make notes on mine. So I've gone through, as you can see here for Ariel, I've gone through and made notes as I completed projects. Again, there. So I'm going to be keeping those, and it is also a really quick way to reference whether I should have a color or not. So these are going back in the binder. This is going to go on the shelf, and I'm going to go make dinner. So love you guys. I will see you soon. Everyone be safe. Bye.